This near-death experience story is sent by Alexander Carter, a 40-year-old man who never imagined he would come face to face with the mysteries of life and death. One moment, he was living his normal routine, working, spending time with his family, and planning for the future. The next, he found himself hovering outside his body, witnessing a vision that would change his perspective forever. What he saw beyond death was not just a personal revelation, but a shocking glimpse into humanity's fate. Was it a warning, a prophecy, or a divine message for us all? His experience will leave you questioning everything. Alexander Carter lived an ordinary yet fulfilling life. He was a devoted husband, a loving father to 2 children, and a hard-working professional in the corporate world. Life was busy, but he enjoyed simple moments: family dinners, weekend outings, and late-night conversations with his wife. He wasn't a deeply religious man, but he believed in doing good and treating others with kindness. Despite occasional stress from work, he considered himself healthy and stable. Little did he know that his life was about to take a turn that would not only challenge his understanding of reality, but also redefine the way he saw the world. Like many people, Alexander had dreams and aspirations. He wanted to provide the best for his family, secure his children's future, and one day retire peacefully. He often found himself caught in the fast-paced cycle of work and responsibilities, rarely taking a moment to reflect on life's deeper meaning. His daily routine was predictable: wake up early, go to work, return home exhausted, and repeat the next day. Despite his success, he felt a certain emptiness inside, a silent longing for something more. But he pushed those feelings aside, believing that life's purpose was simply to keep moving forward. Alexander was not someone who thought much about death. Like most people, he saw it as something far away, something that only happened to the elderly or the unfortunate. He never dwelled on the idea of an afterlife, or what might happen beyond this world. To him, life was about the present, his family, his job, and his responsibilities. However, fate had different plans for him. The moment that would change everything was approaching, and he had no idea that he was about to embark on a journey that would defy all logic and reason. It all began on what seemed like a normal evening. Alexander had just returned home from work, feeling a bit more tired than usual. He brushed it off as stress and exhaustion, thinking he just needed some rest. His wife noticed he looked pale, but he assured her he was fine. However, as the night progressed, an intense pressure started building in his chest. He tried to ignore it, but soon, the pain became unbearable. His breathing grew heavy, and within moments, he collapsed on the floor. His wife screamed for help, and everything around him faded into darkness. The ambulance arrived within minutes, rushing him to the hospital. Paramedics worked quickly, trying to stabilize him as his pulse weakened. Alexander could hear voices around him, but they sounded distant, almost as if he was underwater. His body felt heavy, and an overwhelming sense of detachment washed over him. By the time he reached the emergency room, he was barely conscious. Doctors and nurses moved urgently, but Alexander felt like he was slipping away. In his final moments of awareness, he realized something terrifying. He could hear and see everything happening around him, yet he felt completely separated from his body. His family waited outside, praying for a miracle. Inside the hospital room, the medical team fought to keep him alive. His heartbeat grew weaker, the beeping monitors slowing down. Then, a long, flat tone filled the air. His heart had stopped. For the doctors, this was the moment he died. But for Alexander, this was the moment everything truly began. What happened next would take him beyond the physical world, beyond the limits of human understanding, and into a realm that few have ever witnessed. The second his heart stopped beating, Alexander felt an immediate shift. One moment, he was in the hospital bed surrounded by doctors, and the next, he was floating above the room, looking down at his lifeless body. It was a surreal experience. He could see everything in perfect detail, From the worried expressions on the nurses' faces to the heart monitor flashing red, he could hear every word spoken, yet he felt no fear or pain. Instead, a strange sense of peace enveloped him, as if he had been released from all earthly burdens. As he hovered above, he noticed something strange. He could see his wife and children sitting outside, crying. He wanted to reach out, to let them know he was still there, but he quickly realized he no longer had a physical form. He felt weightless, almost like he was made of light. The more he observed, the more he felt an invisible force pulling him upward. At first, he resisted, not wanting to leave his family behind. But the pull grew stronger, and suddenly, he found himself drifting into a vast, endless tunnel filled with warm, radiant light. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. The tunnel seemed infinite, stretching beyond time and space. As he moved forward, he felt an overwhelming sensation of love, unlike anything he had experienced in life. There was no fear, no regret, only a profound sense of acceptance. He wasn't sure where he was going, but deep inside, he knew this was just the beginning of something far greater than he could comprehend. From above, Alexander watched as the doctors worked tirelessly to revive him. He saw them performing CPR, injecting medications, and using a defibrillator in desperate attempts to bring him back. Time felt different in this state. Every second stretched infinitely, yet everything happened in perfect clarity. He was surprised by how calm he felt, even as he witnessed the frantic efforts to save his life. Instead of panic, he felt deep curiosity. He realized he wasn't breathing, yet he was more aware than ever before. It was as if his consciousness had expanded beyond the limits of human perception. The most shocking part was seeing the emotions of the people around him. He could feel the doctor's determination, the nurse's anxiety, and even the silent prayers of a stranger in the hallway. He realized that thoughts and emotions carried energy, something he had never considered before. Every person in that room had an invisible thread connecting them, and in this state, he could sense it all. It was an overwhelming realization, one that made him question everything he once believed about life, death, and the human soul. Then something even more extraordinary happened. A soft glow appeared in the corner of the room, growing brighter by the second. At first, he thought it was just a light reflection, but as it expanded, he saw something that left him speechless. A figure stood within the light, radiating warmth and kindness. It wasn't someone he recognized, but he instinctively knew this being was there to guide him. In that moment, he understood. He was about to embark on a journey beyond anything he had ever imagined. The light around him grew brighter, pulling him gently forward. He didn't walk or move. He simply drifted, as if carried by an unseen force. The tunnel ahead was endless, glowing with a golden hue that filled him with indescribable peace. As he traveled deeper, he saw glimpses of his past, moments flashing by like a dream. He saw his childhood, his happiest memories, and even moments he had long forgotten. It was as if his entire life was being shown to him, but not in judgment, in understanding. As Alexander floated deeper into the golden tunnel, the radiant light intensified, surrounding him in a warm embrace. There was no fear, no confusion, only a deep sense of peace and belonging. Suddenly, he became aware of a presence ahead, standing within the light. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, not a physical being but an essence of pure love and wisdom. Though it had no distinct features, Alexander felt an immediate recognition, as if he had known this presence forever. The energy it radiated was comforting, yet overwhelmingly powerful, filling him with a sense of awe. As he moved closer, the presence communicated with him, not through words, but through thoughts and emotions. It was as if his soul was directly connected to this being, and every question he had was already known. Alexander felt a rush of emotions, love, understanding, and an overwhelming sense that he was home. The presence conveyed a message. He was not here by accident. His journey had a purpose, and he was about to receive knowledge that would change everything. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew that whatever was about to be revealed would be beyond human comprehension. The presence extended its energy toward him, and suddenly, Alexander's mind was flooded with visions. He saw the past, the present, and glimpses of the future all at once. He was no longer just himself. He was connected to everything, every soul, every event, every moment in time. It was as if he had been given access to the secrets of the universe. And in that instant, he understood that life was far more intricate and interconnected than he had ever imagined. But among the revelations, one vision stood out, a glimpse into the future of humanity. As the divine presence guided him through these revelations, Alexander suddenly found himself standing in what looked like an endless space filled with floating images. It was as if he was watching multiple timelines unfold at once. At first, he saw the world as it was, people living their daily lives, nations functioning as they always had. But then, the images shifted, revealing events that had yet to happen. He realized he was being shown the fate of humanity, not as a prophecy set in stone, but as possibilities dependent on human choices. In one vision, he saw a world where people came together, where technology and wisdom worked hand in hand to heal the planet. In this timeline, humanity thrived, embracing kindness and cooperation. Wars became rare, and advancements in medicine, energy, and education flourished. But then, another vision appeared, a darker one. He saw a world divided by greed, power struggles, and destruction. In this version of the future, humanity faced severe consequences: environmental collapse, social unrest, and a loss of purpose. The contrast between these two futures was stark, and Alexander realized that every decision people made had a ripple effect on the destiny of the world. The presence beside him conveyed an important truth. Humanity's fate was not set in stone. Free will determine the outcome, and every act of kindness, every moment of compassion, could shift the future toward a better path. Alexander felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. This wasn't just about him, it was about everyone. He now understood that each person had a role to play in shaping the world. As these realizations settled in, the visions continued, leading him deeper into the lessons that would redefine his understanding of life. Among the many revelations, one struck Alexander deeply, a vision of the earth itself. He saw the planet as a living entity, vibrant and full of energy. But as the images unfolded, he saw how human actions were slowly damaging the world. Forests were being cut down, oceans filled with pollution, and animals struggling to survive. It wasn't just a distant concern. It was happening now, in real time, with consequences that would only worsen if people didn't change. The presence communicated that Earth was designed to sustain life, but it required balance, a balance that humanity was disrupting. In one vision, he saw a future where people took action, where they respected nature, used clean energy, and worked in harmony with the planet. In this version of the world, resources were abundant, the air was clean, and people lived healthier, longer lives. But then, another vision appeared, one where people ignored the warnings. In this future, Alexander saw devastating droughts, extreme weather, and entire regions becoming uninhabitable. It was a world struggling to survive, not because of an external force, but because of human choices. The realization hit him hard. Earth was giving warnings, and it was up to people to listen. As he absorbed this knowledge, he felt a deep sadness, but also hope. The presence made it clear that nothing was beyond repair. If humanity recognized the importance of protecting the planet, there was still time to change. It wasn't about fear. It was about responsibility. Each person had the power to contribute, to be mindful of their actions, and to inspire others to do the same. As the vision faded, Alexander felt a newfound awareness of the connection between humanity and the earth. This was not just a lesson. It was a call to action. Alexander's visions then shifted toward a new revelation, one that focused on the way nations interacted. He saw a world where different cultures, ideologies, and governments coexisted, but not always peacefully. Conflicts arose not just from physical wars, but from economic struggles, misinformation, and distrust. He saw how small misunderstandings led to major consequences, how divisions between nations created suffering, and how fear and greed often guided the decisions of leaders. But among these struggles, he also saw moments of unity, times when people chose cooperation over division, when peace was prioritized over power. In one future, he witnessed a world where nations worked together, where resources were shared, and where leaders made decisions based on wisdom rather than self-interest. This world was thriving, there was economic stability, education was accessible to all, and communities helped each other during times of crisis. But then he saw another possibility, a world where division continued to grow. In this vision, nations remained in constant conflict, alliances crumbled, and people suffered. If people treated each other with respect, if they spread kindness instead of division, that energy would expand into communities, then nations, and eventually, the entire world. The message was clear. The future was shaped by collective actions, and unity was the key to a brighter path. As Alexander continued witnessing these revelations, he saw a simple but powerful truth. Compassion had the ability to transform the world. He was shown how acts of kindness, no matter how small, created ripples that extended far beyond what people could see. In one vision, he saw a man helping a stranger on the street, and that single act inspired countless others to do the same. He realized that love and generosity were not just emotions. They were forces that shaped reality, influencing people in ways they never realized. He then saw a future where compassion became the foundation of society. Schools prioritized emotional intelligence, workplaces valued human connection, and communities supported one another. In this world, people felt a sense of belonging, and loneliness became rare. He saw families spending more time together, neighbors looking out for each other, and leaders who genuinely cared about the well-being of those they served. It was a world built on kindness, and it flourished. But then, another vision emerged, a world where selfishness dominated, where people ignored those in need, and where relationships suffered due to neglect and indifference. The contrast was undeniable. The presence made it clear, every act of compassion mattered. It didn't have to be grand. Just choosing to be kind, to help, to listen, could change the course of someone's life. In this moment, Alexander understood that humanity had the power to create a beautiful future, not through force or fear, but through love and empathy. As the visions faded, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that if people embraced compassion, they wouldn't just change their own lives, they would change the world. As Alexander processed everything he had seen, the vision shifted to a deeply personal revelation, his own health. He had never considered himself unhealthy, but now he saw his life from a new perspective. He watched himself in past moments, skipping meals due to work, ignoring signs of stress, and neglecting his physical and mental well-being. He realized that his fast-paced lifestyle had taken a toll on him. The heart attack that led him to this experience wasn't random. It was the result of years of pushing his body beyond its limits without proper care. The presence guided him to understand that health was not just about the body, it was about balance. He saw how stress, anxiety, and emotional burdens had affected him as much as poor diet or lack of exercise. Every thought, every emotion carried energy, influencing not just his mind, but his physical health as well. He realized that his constant worries, his habit of overworking, and his lack of rest had created an imbalance that his body could no longer handle. In this moment, he felt regret, not because he was dying, but because he had never truly lived in a way that honored his health. Then, a message came to him clearly. Health was a gift, one that many took for granted until it was too late. He saw countless others in the world suffering from preventable illnesses simply because they ignored their body's warnings. The presence communicated that human bodies were designed to heal, to regenerate, but they needed care. He was being given a second chance, but it would come with a responsibility to treat his body with respect and to share this lesson with others. If people prioritized their well-being, they wouldn't just extend their lives. They would live with more joy, energy, and purpose. The next vision was perhaps the most emotional. Alexander saw his wife and children sitting outside the hospital room, praying for him. He saw the love in their eyes, the worry in their hearts. But then the vision changed. He was shown moments from his past, times when he had chosen work over spending time with his family, times when he had been physically present but emotionally distant. He realized how many moments he had missed, how often he had told himself that he would make time later, but later had almost never come. As he watched these memories unfold, an overwhelming feeling of sadness washed over him. He saw his children growing up, reaching out for him, only for him to be too tired, too busy, too distracted. He saw his wife, always supportive, but sometimes feeling alone because he was caught up in his own stress. The realization hit him hard. Love was not just about being there. It was about being present. Every conversation, every shared moment, every small act of affection mattered. And he had let too many of them slip away without realizing their true value. Then, a final vision appeared, one of what could be. He saw a future where he prioritized his family, where he truly listened, truly engaged, truly loved. He felt their happiness, their laughter, their deep connection. He understood that relationships were the foundation of a meaningful life. It wasn't about money, success, or achievements. It was about the people who walked beside him. The presence beside him communicated that love was the most powerful force in the universe, and if people truly embraced it, if they valued their relationships above all else, they would never feel empty or lost. Lying in a hospital bed, Alexander struggled to process everything he had just experienced. The memories were vivid, too real to dismiss as a hallucination. He knew, without a doubt, that he had been somewhere beyond this world. And more than that, he had been given a message of hope. He had seen that humanity was at a crossroads, that the future was not yet decided. The world had the potential for great darkness, but it also had the potential for incredible light. And the choice was in human hands. He realized that people often felt powerless, as if their actions didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But he now knew the truth. Every single person had the ability to shape the world. Through kindness, through unity, through love, humanity could create a future that was filled with peace and abundance. He understood that fear, division, and negativity were the true enemies, and that overcoming them started with individuals choosing a different path. With that knowledge, Alexander made a vow. He would no longer live passively. He would no longer ignore what truly mattered. He would dedicate his life to sharing what he had seen, to helping others understand that they had the power to create a better world. His near-death experience had not been an ending. It had been a beginning. And from that moment on, he knew exactly what he needed to do. As Alexander gasped for air, pain shot through his entire body. His chest burned, his limbs felt heavy, and his mind struggled to reconnect with reality. He could hear muffled voices, doctors shouting, machines beeping, and his wife sobbing in relief. The bright hospital lights felt harsh compared to the golden glow of the other realm. He tried to move, but his body was weak, as if he had been away for years. He realized that coming back to life was not as smooth as leaving it. He had been in a place of peace, but now he was back in a world filled with pain, responsibility, and unfinished lessons. As his vision cleared, he saw his wife's face, tears streaming down her cheeks. She held his hand tightly, whispering his name in disbelief. The doctors, who had almost given up, looked at him with shock. He had been clinically dead for several minutes. By all logic, he shouldn't have returned. But he had, and he knew why. His heart, though weak, carried a new purpose. He was no longer just Alexander Carter, the businessman, the father, or the husband. He was now a messenger carrying a truth that could not be ignored. The challenge now was how to share it.